We need gender inclusivity before a country can be gender responsive, right?
Okay.
And
Share with us what you mean exactly by
gender inclusiveness.
Yeah.
Basically, we are taking into account the needs of both women and men, but separately so, but also incorporating all of their needs as one, right?
Yeah.
So that's gender inclusivity on a basic level. Now, for a country to be gender responsive, it starts with the inclusivity of the country or as the state or as civil society organizations. How are we incorporating or how are we attending to the different needs of men and women? Because it also starts with understanding that the needs of men and women are very different. So how are we attending to those needs before we can actually incorporate an element of gender responsiveness? And then we take it back to an issue of gender analysis, right? How are we actually analyzing, how are we looking at the different needs that the different genders need in society before we can actually say a country is gender responsive? And then at a macro level, the policies that are then implemented or formulated by a country need to be policies that look at the needs of both women and men separately or also together. Now that's at a policy level. And then at a micro level, we're looking at the stereotypes. We're looking at the perceptions of the people. How are those stereotypes and how are those prejudices or ideas being incorporated? How are we changing those at a small level and how are we incorporated with the policies? I think the director was still mentioning about how Eswatini is actually faring quite not so well on that scale there. And that's mostly because we are in a country that is formulating the policies, but the challenge now is how the stereotypes changing at grassroots level. That's the challenge that we have. Other than that, we can actually say our country is making significant strides to becoming a state that is actually gender responsive. However, we still suffer or struggle with issues of gender inclusivity. Now, when we look at, for instance, a topic of women's participation in politics, right? We don't have a fair representation of women alongside men in politics. And now not having that fair representation is an element or lacking an element of gender inclusivity. And as such, the policies that will be formulated will not be all-encompassing or engaging, or rather just having all the genders in society. Because also issues of gender analysis and gender inclusivity need to be incorporated in there before we can get to gender responsiveness. I know it sounds like big words, right? But it's very important when we take it back down, the country needs to first be inclusive.